bans, Varus, Karma, Rumble off JDG's side, and the Lucian, Nocturne, Renekton banned away by LGD. First pick of the Lee Sin for JDG.
Someone get the Akali. You don't necessarily have to do it
Please.
here on 2. You can do it on 3 on red side, but Akali has finally gone through. This is not a drill. Akali has finally gone through once again. And yes,
Hit the
Viego
big
and Gwen
red
has been
buttons.
one of these. Yes, I know. Gwen and Viego has been one of these, but they're still in a situation where, yes, you can blind pick Viego for the jungle, but for the others, I really prefer that you're able to secure, okay, they're just going to go in with the AP jungler, they're going to get the Viego immediately, and just keep the flex alive for the solo lane, but that does leave open some room for JDG to take over with either priority bot lane themselves, now with Varus being banned away, or just straight up go for the Akali as we talked about as well.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I did like the cheeky little smile on Shadow's face when they lock in the Viego there with the Diana combo. They also get the Sett for Xiye. It looked really good. Maybe not going to Xiye this time around. But as you said, and we're highlighting too, we got to talk about this Kalista, about this Akali for JDG, because they have some powerhouse potential building up here for their squad.
Yeah, remember how I talked about AD carries doesn't really matter early game this meta? I forgot to mention that Kalista is that one exception. I definitely expect LGD either to take some takeaways here in the likes of the Alistar or the Nautilus or some of these engaged champions that Kalista just pairs up with so well right now. Thresh could be one of these champions. I'm just not the biggest fan of Thresh when you don't have too much tank frontline right now. He's more kind of Guardian champion right now. I don't really see him as an enchanter, but that's the kind of way you built him now. So maybe just one of these beefy frontliners to follow up on the engage you get right now already from Yagao and Zoom, because you can clearly tell they want to go in. Both team compositions right now, they want to go in.
Yeah, and the band's taking away some key pieces to those go-in compositions. JDG definitely want to take away those engaged supports. They take away the Leona and the Thresh. And the Gwen gets banned away by LGD. I want to give that one over to Zoom again. And Volibear is actually the final ban for LGD as Tahm Kench comes in as their 4th pick.
Okay, so that's going to be very interesting. Seems like Tahm Kench is... Yeah, I know. It seems like the Tahm Kench is preemptive to the fact that they know an engaged support is going to come through no matter what, so they don't feel like they need to hide that for last. Maybe they feel like Kramer just needs to be put on a champion where he sees the entirety of JDG's composition and he can put that into context of what champion he wants to pilot right now. But, I mean, JDG's composition right now looks very scary so far, and you can clearly say what they want to do. They have a fast clearing jungler in the Udyr. They have laners to play for. Very, very scary.
And the fact that they're saying Kanavi is right there like, I see you, Shadow. I see what you like to play. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take the Udyr for the first time of the split. I'm going to pilot it against you. And they get the Senna. So we have a Senna Kalista bot lane going up against a Tahm Kench with a potential hyper carry coming out for Kramer in the Jinx, which would be very, very interesting. I was honestly expecting for the Ezreal again, but it will not be so.
So I think that was an adaptation due to the Tahm Kench being 4th picked instead. So they're just like, all right, this is a Tahm Kench. We could get a free Senna lane, so we're just gonna go Senna. I've never seen Senna Kalista before. This is actually so curious to see how this is gonna pan out. But Senna traditionally does very well into Tahm Kench, just because the matter of the fact is it's free stacks. And this time around, I actually think it's just gonna be, you know, this is how Senna was designed, with a normal AD carry and then the support Senna. So this is not AD carry Senna. This is just support Senna that's gonna farm up on the Tahm Kench.
And you also have a bit of a wonky combo there with the Ezreal Tahm Kench. Typically, you're taking the Tahm Kench with very non-mobile ADCs. Ezreal is definitely not the non-mobile ADC. So we'll see. I think Kramer looked really good on it in game number 1, so maybe reliving that performance a little bit. But this game is so hype. You've got everything panning out for exactly how we set up for both these teams. These early game matters so much. And when you look at the side of JDG, yes, it comes down to a lot of execution and a lot of individual play, but they have so many strengths. They've gotten so much from this draft. And for me, it's just finding out how LGD want to respond to this, how they survive this onslaught.
this, with both team compositions being locked in, is very much about snowball. If you're able to just get the early lead at the beginning, there's not a lot of disengage tools on the other team. A lot of these champions will just get run down if they don't have the items to pair you up. This is the kind of game where you beat them with your wallet. This is the kind of game where the early game is probably more pivotal in the earlier game before, because both team compositions kind of want to do the same. And when you get into that kind of vacuum, it's all going to be about, all right, who is the one going to be ahead? Who's the one who's going to find the execution? And obviously the execution is just going to be that much easier if you have the items to facilitate a lead.
As we do get onto the Rift, the second time of the evening. We got a lot of games ahead of us, but you got to be locked in right now. LGD taking on JDG, trying to get us to the distance. And here we are on Summoner's Rift.
What a curious combo. What a curious game we've got in front of ourselves right now.
Ezreal, I'm very interested at the way. No, you're totally good. LGD's composition, though, for me, I feel like they saw a lot of what JDG was doing last game. They saw some of the things they were doing. It was just like a mismatch, I guess, of what they wanted from last game. And for this game, they kind of squeezed it all together here for this composition.
Yeah, and I'm going to be curious to see who you're really playing for. For the side of Kanavi, you're a very fast clearing jungler, but you don't really have CC in any lane. But on the side of Shadow, it's a whole nother story, because you got CC in basically every lane except bottom to play for. You got the stun in the mid lane, you got the setup for Fearness towards the top side of the map, and once again, Fearness being subbed in now against Zoom, who got MVP before. It's going to definitely got a lot of pressure on towards him, but just from the minimap, just from what I'm seeing up here, he's already zoning him out. He knows he beats him with just the phase breaker and the auto attacks in the beginning.
Guldborg, don't you just love the meta right now? We got 4 conquerors across the top 4 players for LGD. Isn't it wonderful? Keystones are so different. No, that's just a little caveat there to see. The thing for me is we are seeing jungle pathing on opposite sides of the map, while Fearness takes a huge trade onto Zoom, but it is opposite side jungle pathing for both of these guys, and maybe potentially looking at different parts of the map where they want to really put their early game focus.
Yeah, but right now Kanavi is spotted out on the wall towards the Raptors, so Fearness, he knows he can play however he wants to. He doesn't need to be scared of overextending. He can keep Zoom under his tower, and if he can make him low enough, if Shadow can get a clear towards up here, if Xiye can keep the pressure up towards the mid lane, we've talked about 3-minute dives before, and it could very well happen this game as well, just because how the setup is, just because the stack waves come in, just because Zoom is already a bit low.
Yeah, it's Zoom bit pressed under tower here by Fearness early on in the set. And I want to say that, Xiye is actually doing pretty good against Yagao, at least in the early game, trading down and really keeping the lane pressed up. I feel like there's a lot of priority in lane right now for LGD, but there's nothing really they're looking for, right? Shadow's going for the full clears. He's looking for all that gold to get the resets, and now looking onto the map for the Scuttle Crab fight. And it's not going to be that early, like, 3-minute mark gank or full commit to one of these sides just yet.
Man, I would have loved if LGD is actually committed for that dive there, and I think they are making their way towards there now soon, though. He's a bit more HP here. There's TP that can come in to join.
Oh, Shadow cleanly helps his top laner get the kill onto Zoom. Yagao has TP'd and gets the flash out of Shadow. So they get first blood, and Shadow is able to get that early game aggression that we were talking about.
Yeah, and I love the setup. Stacked wave, low Lee and Zoom coming in against Fearness. Fearness, who was just subbed in with a perfect setup for the first blood. Love this from LGD. They played this one down to a T. They did exactly what they needed to do. They had the early intel onto Kanavi. They knew his bot side. They knew they could commit to the play without losing any resources, because he's already cleared his bot side camps. Nicely done from LGD. We talked about the win condition for both teams here. It's about snowballing in the early game.
Yep, snowballs indeed. Maybe it's not Christmas time, but we're hoping for both these teams that you've got some snow out there to make some snowballs. But I do like that Kanavi was able to get a little bit of an invade there. He did get spotted out by LGD, but still was able to get away with what he kind of wanted, at least to an extent, and gets the reset out. So now we're looking at both junglers getting back out on the map and see where their big focus is next. We've got a dragon coming up soon. We got all kinds of things to position around the map for, and it's up to these two junglers, these catalysts for their team, to decide where that's going to be.
Yeah, but it's not only just about that. It's the fact that LGD right now has TP advantage on every member.
They do.
Whenever there's a new skirmish that's about to arise, either towards the bottom or even towards the mid lane, it'll always be easier for LGD to create a man advantage. So in their head right now, JDG knows if they create a skirmish the next 5 minutes, they're just going to lose out on it. So they're forced to forfeit a lot on the map right now. LGD can play way more aggressive now. They can play way more greedy because they know they have the insurance of TPs towards them. They know they have pressure in the lanes, so they won't even lose too much if they TP. If Fearness was to join a fight, you can look at his wave right now. It's pushed in towards Zoom lane. Zoom can only push it back, and Fearness should be able to just go back. So right now, due to the map state, due to these small advantages we see for LGD, it's just so much harder for JDG to commit a play, but they're looking for it in the mid lane here.
Yeah, Kanavi looking for Xiye will not get him. He's just a slippery Viego at this point, and that does also mean that Kanavi's going to look for a little bit more here, going to get aggressed by Xiye, but he was looking for the invade there on the top jungle, trying to just get back something from that wasted time on the gank mid. Not going to find it, and it's still Shadow who has the pace, tempo, and control right now of the jungle.
Yeah, small skirmish could arise here. Nope, Kanavi's still there for the scuttle, and there's not a lot of camps up right now. It's a bit of a downtown, but you can see members are already roamed up towards this mid lane here, and they're just gonna go for it.
The engage of Shadow. Shadow gets away, but Yagao almost takes him out there. Has the perfect execution available. Kanavi in some serious trouble here as Xiye is going to follow it up. Heal was used by Mark just to get Shadow further into the fight, but Kanavi's able to slink away as this Udyr just so quick, and Fearness had TP to the mid lane to get the flank, but will not find exactly who he's looking for just yet.
Yeah, great sidestep from Kanavi, just making a right turn as soon as you see that flash come in. And as you said yourself, Fearness TP'd in. So this early pressure with the TP advantage JDG needed to be afraid of is no longer there for the top side. This actually means that when Zoom gains his TP, you're going to be the one with the TP advantage. So right now, this is very favorable for JDG if they can just, you know, slow the game pace down just a bit.
And top, or at least bot lane for JDG has been so strong. We're going to take a look at that replay and see how this all kind of went down, and Xiye just trying his darndest to get Kanavi there, but he's just too quick.
He definitely is, and honestly, I saw this one from a mile away. The flash in towards towards the Udyr is very easy for him here, and Fearness even losing out on his flash as well. So
yeah,
that small lead they had in the early game doesn't really mean too much. You can see right now in the goal, JDG still ahead with 400 gold, and now Drake is up and available. Kanavi last time around was already on that Drake 6 minutes into the game, so I can only expect the JDG will be pathing towards this bot side of the map. They'll try and go for the pressure around the Drake, and they'll try and set up their first objective.
And something for me is I was wondering if JDG were going to make the move up to Dragon, or at least try to position around Dragon a little bit more, because they've had constant priority in bot lane. Loken is up by a huge amount of CS, at least in the early parts of the game, and they've kept him under tower. So I wanted to see if maybe JDG wanted to go for that early objective control on the blue side of the map, but it doesn't look like that's going to be so, as there's a lot of vision put down by LGD, and they're continuously roaming around those neutral objectives.
Yeah, and you can definitely see LGD, they're reading the map as well. They know right now, for JDG, the easiest objective for them to take, that's going to be the Drake we just talked about. So they're cross-mapping it. They're going to put their reasons up towards the top side of the map. They know they can't really get dove towards the bot side of the map. They have an Ezreal, they have a Tahm Kench. So they're just going to be trading this one, and I think they're going to be looking to look for Zoom up towards the top side of the map with Rift Hell, with Shadow up here. No kick for Zoom now.
Yeah, Zoom getting the kick preemptively on the Shadow. Make sure he doesn't get dove under tower, although the Shadow is staying around. There's that trade of objectives as Shadow is looking for the first tower in top lane with this Rift Herald. That first dragon goes over to JDG.
That's the thing, but right now giving over one Drake for first tower as LGD, you're quite happy about that one. But you can see JDG, they want to cross-map it. Right now, Kanavi is lurking around the mid lane. He's looking for Xiye. Question is if Xiye is going to respect this one, and he's just going to go into the mist. There's nothing they can do. So great job from the side of LGD. They cut their losses on the other side of the map. They don't lose anything outside the Drake, and they're going in.
They got a second charge with a Rift Herald too in the tier 2 for JDG. So really nicely done from LGD to utilize that pressure in the top lane and keep it going. As Fearness is really showing up in this game against Zoom, who had such a good performance at game 1. Yes, it was on Gwen, and this is Lee Sin. A little bit different play styles between the two, but Fearness looking very stout on this top lane set pick.
Yeah, but right now, clearing the bot side camps. Akali moving in towards the bot lane. Low turret here. Kramer and Mark
they
need
got
to be
Kanavi
careful.
behind. They've got the stunts here as well, and the slows. Kramer using the phase shift to get away. Now I'm taking a lot of damage on the trade back from it, but JDG tried to get something bot lane. We're not able to.
And that's the kind of cross map we talk about. They had the mid lane priority. You can see Yagao utilize that pressure, transferred it down to the bot side of the map, and they're able to put Kramer and Mark behind the turret, picking up their own first turret here. So gold lead once again very much even between both teams, and we talked about one of them needs to snowball, but right now they're quite even with each other.
Yeah.
If a fight were to break down, it's going to come down to execution. It's going to come down to how it's played out with their mechanics on these mechanical requiring champions as well.
That's what I love so much about this, is it's not turning into one of those games like, okay, it's already decided, right? Like, it's still to be decided, and it's going to be decided in the team fights. We still have a little while till the objectives come on, so I do expect just a bit of a lull period here where both teams are just farming up. Maybe we see a little bit of craziness come out from these junglers, but I don't think we'll see anything, as they have now moved Loken and LvMao to the mid lane to continue stacking up that farm lead.
Yeah, it's quite classic for this meta. You set up the 1-3-1 composition because right now you play for your solo laners. You want to open up the map and basically all turrets, or not all turrets, but you traded one turret each. Mid lane is going to be the next point of pressure that is going to be the most pivotal for securing Ocean priority, or just priority for going for these roams that we just saw Yagao commit to earlier. So you put in 2 members instead of 1 because it's easier to get that pressure. It's easier with 2 to get on towards the side lane. It's easier with 2 to set up the vision around the river. So both of them right now probably just going to be some pretty stale gameplay on towards the 2-minute mark where we get the next Drake spawning. It is going to be that Infernal, the first of its kind. And you can actually see from the posturing right now, they're looking for some plays.
Yeah, they want to try to catch Loken and LvMao out, who've been just farming up these plates like bandits here all game long, and they're keeping it going in mid lane. I love it because nobody's really been able to touch them so far, but here we go. Touch them indeed. It's going to be the Moonfall from Shadow. Can they get the sustain down though? LvMao with the Dawning Shadow flash. He gets out just by a little bit, but he dies to the Ezreal. That's Kramer picking up a double kill, just like he left off in game number 1.
Yeah, perfect play there from Kramer. It feels like a max range arcane, not arcane shift, but Mystic Shot came out just to finish that one. And Kanavi thought the situation was solved, thought it was just a stalemate where they just went for the push. But Shadow, no camps to clear towards the bottom, went in towards the mid lane, and now they should be favored with their gold, with the not the preset, but the reset they can get through now to set up vision around this Drake. You can see 1 minute on towards the Drake spawns. They're all resetting now, and with this replay to come through, Shadow, immense amount of damage that gets picked up by Kramer afterwards.
And there's a ton of sustain that's coming through from this combo, but it's just not enough when you got all the burst damage from Shadow as well as the follow-up sustain damage from Kramer on the Ezreal. So really nice play call from LGD. It's exactly what they needed to kind of buff up this little bit of advantage in map tempo that they've had, but it's still far from what they wanted to kind of ensure this game for themselves, to find that definite lead, because JDG still have strong members. They still have a lot to live for in terms of those objective fights, and we have one coming up in about 30 seconds.
Exactly, 30 seconds. We look at the members on the map. Where are they right now? Zoom up towards that top side of the map. Does have TP, but I think he'd like to save it. So he's probably just going to be pushing out top side, then moving towards the Drake that spawns in 15 seconds. But no, he's actually going to wait. So we might be forced to see a TP from Zoom to come in for a flank. Could be towards the bot side, where we see Yagao has created that priority. Rest of LGD right now needs to put out the pressure, and we're looking for the engage. We're looking onto Shadow and Fearness to start it all, and then for Kramer to finish it off. And on the other side, Yagao, Kanavi, find access on towards the backline, find access onto members to kill, to just play with Loken in the backline later. Drake has been started up, and it seems like the contest starts now.
I was gonna say, it's kind of funny to me how important these dragons seemingly are for both these teams. You know, the JDG did position around the bottom side of the map, right? They just didn't have the confidence to move forward to take that objective, or at least to fight over the dragon. And giving over the first dragon to LGD is no big deal, right? You're still looking for the Mountain Soul, you're looking for that later scaling. But now JDG have been caught. LvMao has gotten moonfalled here by Shadow. He's gonna find the kill as well with the Heartbreaker, and that is huge. The maximum range from Xiye on the Viego, stealing the soul of the Senna and able to get another kill. It's 5-0 for LGD, and it's night and day from game 1.
Yeah, another kill also nets them another neutral objective. They will get the Rift Hell, which is going to be pivotal for opening up a mid lane turret that's already gotten this low here. So it seems like LGD winning out on the team fight, winning out on the objective. And once again, you said it yourself, really nice pickup there for Xiye, picking up the possessions on toward the Senna.
Very, very nicely done. When those resets start coming through, you start questioning decisions that were made as a set of JDG. You just start seeing it possess your team members. You're like, oh no, what happened? What have we done? And Xiye, off the Sett performance last game around is going to be huge on this Viego, and it's a very key point to how they want to fight as we look through this replay.
Yeah, you can see the fight breaks out. Seems like a fight for control, really. But if you take a look on towards the control wards, you can already see LGD is ahead of this play. They've got their vision secured. They knew exactly where the rest of the members were, and they felt confident taking that fight. So they're just punishing an overstep JDG in a position where they really could not capitalize.
And for now, LGD is just trying to defend this top tower with fearness. Zoom was putting some aggression on there, but we're going to get the spotlight back in the mid lane, back to where the action happens. And especially without an objective on the Rift for a while here, you see Kanavi's just waiting to see if something happens. He knows that there's some jungle camps coming up soon, so they just want to see if they can get any more advantages before those next objective fights. And we talked a lot about the early game. So far, the early game has been all LGD favored.
It really has, but this time around, I mean, yeah, this time around, in contrast to the other game here, it's actually them stepping up, and I think it comes down to it's harder for JDG to play the map now. It's harder for them to take these team fights.
Shadow, he's always waiting in the bushes, but can they get the follow-up there? Shadow gets gobbled up and right back into the fight. LvMao gets sniped by Kramer, who is just having a monstrous performance on this Ezreal, as Xiye was in bot lane, putting some pressure there onto Yagao. Mid lane will fall. The outer tower goes down to LGD.
I never thought I was going to say this about Kramer, but really excellent positioning on the Ezreal here. He's in such a good position for the Mystic Shot, Arcane Ship not being used recklessly, and it's just great to see him pick up these kills so easily. It looks almost flawless for Kramer.
Truly, truly does. Something that, as you said, weren't expecting all that much out of him, but it is looking really nice for Kramer on the Ezreal, and also at the back of the rest of the team, right? Like, you've had Fearness in the top lane on the Sett. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of kills, but he's still a Sett, and we saw in game number 1 how much Sett can pull off, and Fearness, I feel like, is doing really well against Zoom, at least keeping the pressure up there, keeping Zoom kind of locked in.
Yeah, you know, he's gone kind of under the radar into the mid game, but let's not forget, he was the one that facilitated the first blood for Shadow. He was the one who got the pressure into Zoom. Great top laner as well. You can clearly see Zoom as an individual top laner does still have the advantage, but for Fearness, he doesn't need to play for himself. He needs to play for the lanes.
Shadow just going for it every chance he gets. LvMao over the edge isn't going to find what they wanted, at least the slows there, but Zoom goes in with the Sonic Wave. Getting fun to follow up here. Then JDG just chased down LGD, and that whole time it felt like LGD didn't know if they wanted to stay or go.
And that was a problem. LGD actually opted into that one. TP came through from Zoom, so they're not going to get much out of the TP, though. Yes, they get a kill, but outside of that, it's a TP not quote-unquote wasted for no objectives. Drake will be spawning in 40 seconds, but Mark is already out on the map in 5 seconds, so nothing here is going to put them in a deficit on towards the next objective. If anything, it actually puts JDG in a worse situation, because Zoom right now does not have the flash for the kick.
Yeah, that's going to be a big piece to try and especially get Kramer, Xiye, Shadow, any of those members. You've got to have that kick available to you, because really you're a little bit lackluster in the crazy ultimates you have to choose from for JDG, where you just have a few that are really going to be those moment changers. And on the other side, you have a ton of that wombo combo coming in with sustained damage. So LGD have really picked a beautiful composition for themselves here, but it's the execution that I'm so enamored with, and being able to take JDG's game number 1 and kind of shove it back in their face.
Yeah, you love to see it, but we also knew it was going to be a close one with these two teams, very similar in style. Right now, JDG with a man advantage have created the control around the river, but Xiye is moving down. They definitely are, and I think a fight could break out at any moment. Just for the control around the Drake, it has been started up. And once again, we need to take a look on towards the engagers. Shadow, Xiye onto the Viego, and obviously Fearless on the Sett is going to be pivotal for this fight.
Shadow's incoming, but the Dragon already goes down. LGD decide to opt out of the fight, but maybe want to follow it up afterwards here as Yagao gets caught, maybe overextending himself a little bit. And that's going to be a big move ball. Shadow finds the engage yet again. The showstopper as well for Fearless as they get 2 kills, but JDG wants to turn it around. Yagao is caught by himself. Kanavi all by himself, and JDG are routed by LGD.
Yeah, this should be Baron. Once again, nice pickup, and it seems like LGD with their sets as they're so good at fighting these team fights. Once again, amazing suplex coming out there from Fearless to find the kills, and Kramer with the follow-up. Once again, he's just reliable in the background, but make no mistake, the frontliners here for LGD really found that perfect engage for them.
All right, JDG making their faces shown here in the Baron pit. Baron 5,000 health. LGD want to focus it down, but they're kind of pulling out of the pit now. They still do have Shadow in there. Kanavi over the back. Kanavi kills his Baron. The fight afterwards as well. They've already found one, but LGD are wanting to take it. They have the damage here, but Yagao and company blow up Fearless. He is no longer your front line. GA is going to get engaged on by Zoom. Kramer all by himself here. Yagao going over, not going to follow the Sonic Wave from Zoom as JDG get out with the Baron.
And you can clearly tell LGD had the game plan to stop Kanavi going in there. Oh,
what is he doing? He's taking a 2v1. He don't even care. Perfect execution comes out. The beautiful piercing light saves the day from LvMao, who's having a heck of a game on the Senna. They can't find the kills. A sliver of health left for Xiye, but they do not get it. They just keep the pressure up for JDG.
Yeah, and you know, despite them getting Baron, they're just even now. They're still looking for fight.
They are, and they found a Shadow with a big moonfall, but he's all by his lonesome against 2 members. And that's going to be the second pickup of a kill for LvMao. But they have also found Loken, who should not be where he is, but ends up finding himself there anyways. Buying some time, but it won't matter. Xiye gets the kill.
Yeah, once again, the Kalista feels a bit awkward for this team compositions, but you gotta credit the solo laners from JDG. Once again, they are the one finding access to these plays. And once again, Kanavi cannot understate how important he is for this JDG team. But remember, it all started with a great fight from LGD. They were the one finding the picks that could lead them up towards that Baron. Problem for them was the way they wanted to keep Kanavi out of the pit. It seems like they weren't really on the same page. You can see they clearly wanted to stop Kanavi, but that didn't stop him from being Udyr, just running around the pit, flashing in there, and getting the smite. Kanavi once again coming up clutch for JDG.
Shadow had smite available, just wasn't able to pull the trigger on it right there. It was about 850 health or so, and unfortunate for LGD, JDG just swoop in and take it all, and just like that, taking the tempo of the game. They are now the ones aggressing. They're the ones looking for the picks, and that's that confidence I was talking about earlier that I just feel emanating from this JDG roster.
Yeah, they're not afraid to start any fight up. They're 3v5 essentially, but that didn't stop them at all. And once again, it's very much about the top side of the map.
They can't catch Kanavi. They can't kill Kanavi anymore. He's too tanky as the Udyr at this point. Could be in some trouble here. I was wondering how deep JDG were going to want to go for that one, but they decided to pull out at the last moment, just getting some more pressure in the enemy jungle.
Yeah, definitely will be. 1 minute and 30 seconds on towards Soul Point for JDG. Resets should start to come through soon, around that 1 minute mark. And then we should see the kind of fight around the objective for control, for the vision, for the pressure in the lanes that we've seen so many times before already.
And it's trying to get those avenues forward for both these teams. I really like the fact that we've gotten LGD with those early kills. We saw Shadow getting active. Xiye is looking really good on the Viego, but as well as Kramer still having a heck of a performance on this Ezreal. It's definitely looking like a staple pick for him in stability at least, but you're not ahead by far. You've still got a lot of scaling factors on both sides, but for LGD, you've had trouble in the past closing out games that you had those early leads in, that you had control of the game in, and that's what worries me the most, and I need to see that execution in the later parts, and especially in the team fights, come through for LGD.
Yeah, and from LGD, it's very much about, once again, the engages. We've seen it times and times again. For JDG though, the solo laners here are the most important players. Zoom, Kanavi, Yagao, they're the driving factors because quite frankly, Loken, LvMao, they haven't really left their impact in this match just yet. It seems very much like this really have been awkward for them to play it out, especially with all that backline dive coming in from LGD. But 10 seconds onto Drake, control right now in favor of LGD, and JDG will be the team forced to walk into the poke right here. They'll be the one forced to either give up to Drake or come in and fight them on LGD's terms.
Dragon's already going down, so that will be second Dragon going over to LGD. JDG just opt in to stay in mid lane, continue pressing up with the waves at least, and now LGD coming into the mid lane, maybe looking to give them a fight. Nothing really to fight over, but you know how we are in the LPL. We just look for it whenever we can. LGD want to wrap around, they want to get back to their base, but JDG trying to stop that from happening, trying to keep this mid lane push going, and it's typical for the LPL to see a situation like this and to try and force LGD's hand, but they get into where they wanted to go beautifully, and they stop the advantage that JDG were trying to press.
Yeah, it's a play to kind of obtain the stability of pressure in mid lane. You can see on the side lanes right now, everything is just decently pushed. There's nothing to worry about. So from the side of JDG, they're just trying to make them lose waves. They're trying to create an avenue for themselves to walk up towards this mid lane. But LGD not falling for the bait, find a route, a safe navigation into the mid lane again, where they're able to kind of just put the map state back to what we normally would call an even map state here.
Yeah, trying to at least, trying to get that point of pressure. And 4 minutes for another Dragon come up. That will be sole point for either of these teams. You know that's going to be hotly contested. But with the Baron coming up in 40 seconds and the way that we've seen LGD position, they definitely are looking for the vision control and maybe looking to force JDG's hand towards this Baron pit.
That's the thing. They need to be a bit more careful with their setup though. Kanavi this time around does a flash once again. So it's about stabilizing these different kind of flanks where JDG they can come from. It's very hard for them to take a full-on 5v5 fight where they just walk directly into you. But for JDG, if you can come from multiple flanks, if you can come from different flanks with the Lee Sin, the Akali, the Udyr, then it becomes way harder for LGD to pilot these team fights because they're very binary in their kit. Diana is very much about diving in on one group target or multiple group targets. The same with Sett and his suplex. His ultimate is supposed to hit people in a linear line. So that's kind of what you want to pursue this way as JDG right now. And they're just starting a fight around the red buff.
Take a fight over the red buff up here. Kanavi's almost half health. The move ball comes down, but it doesn't get who you wanted it to. Look at the flank from Xiye though. JDG moving forward. They found the kick. They found the damage. And Xiye is not in the fight yet, but they have everybody they need to. Xiye has found LvMao, but LvMao gets gobbled up there. Kanavi goes down first to Fearness, and LGD are just using their composition, their positioning to take it to JDG. The resets are coming through, and we're seeing the final chase down of Yagao. If LGD can get this, that will be an ace to the team, and they will have completely and solidly taken control of this game.
Yeah, they're trying to chase him down, but it's only 20-second death timers. They can't end the game here. They'll have to go for the Baron instead. But we just talked about it. You need to come from multiple flanks, but you were all grouped up around the red buff. It was easy for Fearness to get a good ultimate down. It was easy for Xiye to find an entrance towards the flank because he was just coming from the mid lane this time around. And Shadow as well, they tried to stall out the moonfall. Yes, he didn't hit too many members, but still, it's the fact you're playing into LGD's hand. They win the team fight, and they pick up the Baron. And here we go. Look how grouped they are around here. Look how easy it is for LGD to play this one. Shadow does get stunned. If he found this ultimate, this could have been a way easier fight for them. But fact is, this time around, JDG are already too poked out. It's hard for them to find a proper team fight now.
And Kramer beautifully arcane shifts on the other side of the Dragon Rage kick, and being able to get away from that one is huge, because if not, it would have been kicked right back into the rest of the team. That's what JDG wanted. But plans go a bit awry for JDG, and the sustained team fight potential is really shining through for LGD right now. And with this Baron buff, they're keeping the pressure up. They're keeping it in the face of JDG while we have about a minute until that Dragon spawns.
Yeah, and Kramer this time around has also finished up the Mortis instead of going for the Frozen Heart. He knows the biggest threat to him right now is going to be the Akali, and 3 items on top side as well here. Sterix Gauge, 4 mail as well. They're not making it easy, so with this Baron push, should be pressuring the mid lane. Use the pressure in the mid lane to take down the side lanes, where you just rotate between the minion waves here with this Baron buff.
And the 3-item spikes are really starting to feel good for LGD at this point. I do want to highlight that we have the Abyssal Mask there for Kanavi. So interesting pickup, but just trying to get some of that AP sustain magic resist there. And I really find it interesting for the Udyr. I feel like Kanavi hasn't had the most impact. As a jungler who we said is a main key focus for this team, they've really been quiet so far. And it's a lot to do with the way that they've been approaching these fights. And yes, there's been good moments, but JDG are just being sieged down through these fights and as well as under their tower.
Yeah, and more minions are just going to stack up. Cannon. There's not too much range right now from the side of JDG, so all you have to do as LGD is just watch. Just let the cannon minions do their job. But JDG, they need to pull the trigger soon if they don't want to lose half their base.
They can't, though. There's just no way forward. They have the pick-out tools, but they're grouped up as 5 members, and LGD are just looking to end the game here. They saw what JDG were able to do in the first game, and they want a piece of that. You got to be in trouble about overextending, though, as they are still under the base. They're still potentially getting dove into by JDG, but JDG just pulled them out of the base. LGD decide to back away, and they take the inhib with them.
Yeah, you can clearly tell LGD had a game plan on kind of just finishing up through the bot side there, else they would have got more pressure in the mid lane, but Yagao caught out.
Did not want to take the 1v5s at this point in the game. Yagao just trying to get away from the pressure of LGD. They were trying to still actually scoop him out of the jungle here, but he is an Akali. He's pretty slippery. We'll get out. You already see pings going down towards the dragon for LGD.
Yeah, but I don't really think you need to take the dragon now. I guess your Baron buff is running out, so there's not much to do for you in the lane. So yeah, go for the Drake, go back to the mid lane. Super minions are already spawned towards the bot lane, and use that newfound pressure you now have on the map.
What I love about this game is Shadow's like, go ahead and give me another try. Go ahead. I promise you, game number 1, that was a fluke. Game number 2, he has been active, he has been present, and he has been getting the bombest engages of the series so far. And those move falls, maybe they aren't doing as much as they were in the early game right now, but it's the initiation, it's the setup that is giving all the attention to Shadow and letting the rest of his team, especially Kramer, to shine through.
Yeah, and I will say it's also the adaptation we saw come through from LGD. They had better setup around the lanes. It was easier for Shadow to come in with a dive this time. It was easier for them to leave their bot lane alone, because it's Ezreal Tahm Kench. You'll literally never be able to punish this lane unless they really screw up down there. And then it's also the fact that they did get rid of the Gwyn. They did get rid of some of these picks that were a nuisance in the side of them for the beforehand game. This time around, they really came in guns blazing straight from the early game as we wanted them to do. And now, setting up the mid lane, Supers down in bot lane, setting up the top side of the map. They're creating pressure on all fronts against JDG.
And it just doesn't feel like JDG have a response, right? Like we've talked a lot about their pieces being strong. We've got Kanavi on the Udyr for a lot of that setup, for a lot of that run and gun at you with the follow-up. But Loken 0-5 on the Kalista just doesn't have what it takes to really keep up in the fight. Still waiting for that 4th item. It is a Kalista though, and you've always got to be worrisome about those Ren stacks, about the damage that can come through in the sustained team fights. But from what we've seen so far, JDG, when LGD want to take it to them, they're never set up on standard on flat ground. They're never stable in their fights, and they kind of have to run away in a little bit of a chaoticness. So definitely feeding into LGD's game plan here.
Yeah, they most definitely are, but they've decided to slow down the game a bit. You can see it's been hard for LGD to actually come up here and punish them in ways where they can actually just take down the base immediately. But Baron, 1 minute, I think that is going to be the game plan for LGD right now. What you want to do is just stabilize the vision, or establish vision, rather to take care of the enemy jungle, specifically the blue side here. Make it hard for JDG to come up and contest. Make them be pushed out on the map. Make sure that the lanes are shoved in as far as possible, so it's hard for them to come up and step up. But JDG, they know what the game plan needs to be. They're making sure that they're putting a man advantage in the mid lane, so they won't be pushed too far back, so they'll have easy access should a Baron be started from the side of LGD.
It would be a pretty quick Baron. One thing I do want to point out, a little side caveat, is I love the smiles and the laughs I'm seeing on all of LGD's player cams. I think it's absolutely hilarious, and that's the kind of feels you need in this kind of game. It's all about the fun, it's all about the engage, it's all about going ham, and LGD have done that just so. And with this priority in mid, both teams right on the brink of it, right on looking for those engages. Shadow's moving forward, trying to find them, but really it's about the priority in mid lane. It's about getting the pushing wave and making sure you're getting the poke in as well, as Loken has to gobble up LvMao.
That's the Fate's Call already gone out of the way now. You can at least start the Baron up here, but it's not really like that was going to be used as an engage tool anyway, but that is low HP bars. Remember, LvMao can heal out the targets right now, but the pressure is set upon JDG. This is the fight that's going to be their last.
And LGD are baiting the fight here. They have Shadow in the pit, but everybody else is looking for the picks here. JDG moved back to the mid lane, so too does LGD. They have a couple members still looking and pinging at the Baron, as we're actually just getting backs coming through because they have to, JDG have to defend their base against the super minions, which means a free Baron over to LGD.
It most definitely is. Inhibitor in the bot side should be respawning in just a few minutes, but it's not actually going to... Oh, there we actually go. It's not going to matter too much as Baron buff has come out now. Exactly. And 1-3-1 composition or just 4-1 should come out from LGD now. They should be focusing the mid lane, move into a side lane, and you can see towards the top side of the map, Xiye already stacking a stacked wave up here. Mid lane moving in, but it seems like they want to go for one last reset before they decide to go for the finalized fight.
Everybody's just got to have all their weaponry, they got to have all the armor ready to go, a little bit of polish on there, ready for whatever is thrown at them. And what's thrown at them is this dragon in about 40 seconds, you have no doubt. But LGD trying to utilize this Baron buff as much as they can before that dragon spawns and make sure to get those lanes pushing out.
And there we go. It looks like they want to get the soul as well. Zoom is off to a flank, but he's already spotted out here.
He has to be really careful. Has to use the ward jump to get out of there. They're now committing a TP. As Yagao in the middle of a 1v4 all of a sudden didn't really expect the rest of the team to be there, but he has found LGD, maybe not to his liking. He still survives but goes down. Now the reset's coming through for Xiye. He is now the Akali. Look at the move ball in the back though. Loken is just going to be targeted down. The beautiful face breaker into the haymaker for Fearness. That is a full team wipe. That's an ace, and LGD have claimed game number 2.
We talked about it. They made their adaptations. They found their early game lead. They found their way back into this game through some great setup and the team fighting. LGD should be taking us to game 3 on towards this push.
They've got a couple structures left in their way, but game 1 is an afterthought. Game 2, all LGD as they take us the distance in this wonderful day of games.
And this is just exactly what we wanted to see when we saw today's matchups. This is just the first of many to come out throughout the day here, and I love the fashion this one was carried out in. All mechanical champions. The Akali actually taking a loss here. The Viego coming out from Xiye, who is a huge facilitator for his team this time around.
It was so impressive from the early game to the mid game to closing out the game. I feel like this was the LGD that, you know, we want to see, that they take the strengths, they take that early game pressure that they always get, and they were able to get that closed out against JDG, who is another team that's a lot like them, but very good at pulling back games that they are behind in and finding their ways forward. They just were unable to this time around, and I feel like it was a lot to do with that bot lane. They just were not as active as they could be. That's 5,000 damage only done by this Kalista, and it's a bit of an unfortunate story when you look at the other side and you see, you know, a ton coming out from LGD across the board, but as well as just the entire game felt like it was in their grasp.
I think the portraits here are a bit put out of the way.
They're a little bit off, but we can tell where the damage goes. It's Kanavi's damage.
That'd be very low damage. Yeah, exactly. So
it's a 40,000 damage Tahm Kench, right? Like, that's not a big deal. That's normal. That's gameplay for you.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. Unfortunately not. But yeah, we talked about Kramer. On towards the Ezreal, dealt so much reliable damage on towards the backline. It was for the solo laners to fight the fight, but Kramer never overextended, held his cool, and was always there as a reliable damage to make sure that the resets would come through for Xiye to find the possession, to find the team fight. Shadow as well with the huge AoE damage together with the Sett. All in all, a nice composition that LGD had drafted this time around to facilitate exactly what they want to do in these team fights.
And it just makes me happy to see Shadow able to execute on a pick that he was unable to in game number 1, right? Kanavi had his number in that first game and was really able to put the pressure on him early, maybe make him second guess the decisions he was making. This one, there was no second guessing. The dude was going all in every time he saw anybody that was caught out. And that's the kind of confidence that I love to see coming out from Shadow, because I feel like that's when he plays his best game.
It most definitely is, and this time around, you know, he wasn't early invaded Shadow. He got to play his game. It wasn't because Kanavi was in there sealing away his camps. He wasn't double scuttled this time around. He was actually able to keep up with the tempo, and because of this, he was able to keep LGD in a stable momentum going into the mid game. Because we've already talked about this quite a lot. Both junglers here play a huge impact on towards that team and how they move on to the mid game. But I will say though one thing, Kalista, Senna bot lane, we talked about it, we had never seen it before, and we probably never want to see it again either, because there was just not the impact we expected from that lane.
Yeah, definitely was not what they were looking to have happen in their game when they picked that combo. But the other side of it, the Ezreal Tahm Kench, Kramer is a legend on this pick. After, you know, having some doubts for it, he's really coming online in this series on the Ezreal. So I wonder how much longer JDG let that go through and maybe try to get Kramer on something not as comfortable. We are going to step away. We got to take a little bit of a breather after that banger game 2, but we have game number 3 between LGD